Good afternoon. Hello. How is everybody today? I'm trying to see if I can share. Y'all know I have to do this every week, right? I'll share it later. It'll go over to my author page later. Hi, how are you? Give us just a minute and let some other folks show up. Let's see. I want to tag somebody. Hi. Because she always wants to tag her to be here for these. So, Susan, show up. Let's get over here. All right. Let's see what we're going to talk about forgiveness today. Oh, that's such a touchy subject, is it not? Well, listen, let's go ahead and get started. I'm Faye Bryant. Welcome to Saturday Sit Down with Faye. Today's topic is forgiveness, characteristics of a great you. Step number 1, we're going to talk about what forgiveness is not. Okay? Forgiveness is not saying that what was done to you was okay. You're not going to be saying that what was done was all right in any way, shape, form, or fashion. It wasn't. It was not. And you don't have to say so, and you don't have to think so. Forgiveness is not agreeing with what was done. Again, you are not condoning what was done. You don't have to. It's not part of the package. You're not restoring the relationship. Forgiveness is not restoring the relationship to what it was. The relationship is broken. It might be restored, but that's not what your forgiveness will do. There's a lot of work involved to even begin to restore a relationship, and just the act of forgiveness will not do that. Forgiveness is not allowing the person to do that to you again. Forgiveness absolutely does not mean that you're opening yourself up to the same kind of behavior. Matter of fact, it helps you lay out boundaries to protect yourself. You'll learn more about that in a minute. Actually, forgiveness is not about the other person at all. It's not. It has so little to do with the other person. Your forgiveness is actually all about you. It's not in a selfish way. The reason for forgiveness is not to set the other person free. It's not to let them off the hook. It's to set you free. What forgiveness is revisiting the offense, but only briefly. You only visit that painful time long enough to get clear on what actually happened, free of your emotions. It's going to take work. You'll have to be able to say, okay, I'm going to think about this objectively. I'm going to think about what happened, not how I felt about it. You have to be able to separate yourself, not permanently, just for a time as you go through these processes. Forgiveness is taking the time to get clear on what actually happened. It will bring up the emotions, but you'll be prepared for that. Forgiveness is determining who did what and who was at the core of the offense. See, sometimes the person we are the most angry about, that we're the most angry at, was the person in the middle, that there was actually somebody at the core who was somebody else entirely. We need to get to that core. We may have several to forgive for one offense. Give you an example. I know a woman who suffered molestation as a child. And for the longest time, she was just very angry at the person who did that. And then through talking with people and sharing her story, she was able to get to the point where she said, oh my word, it was my parents. that deeply ingrained core person that she was the most angry at was her parents, because they had put her in the place where she was available. They didn't have to, but they had chosen to put her in that place where she was available for that to happen. So sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and we have to find out who is actually at the root. Because if we don't get to the root of this, we're not going to be rid of it. Forgiveness is honestly examining any role that we had in the offense. I'm not saying that a victim is at fault. Don't hear me wrong. Don't hear me wrong. I am saying that our role may have been in not telling someone. But even so, our role is simply victim. Okay? The lady I was talking about was not responsible. She didn't have a role in what happened to her. Her role in that was victim. Okay? But here's something to think about. If that's not the kind of case, were we a perpetrator of offense on our own, and then this was an answer to that? Something to think about. What forgiveness is feeling the feelings that surround the offense. As we feel them, we have to identify them. What are we feeling? Have you ever stopped to think that sometimes we just jump to a feeling, but we don't recognize what it is or why we're going there? I mean, what are you feeling? Was something done that hurt you physically? Are you feeling physical pain? Are you feeling emotional pain? Are you feeling anxiety as a result of it because you're expecting it to happen again? Are you experiencing a loss of revenue? Identify the feelings. Are you feeling anger? Are you feeling frustrated? Are you feeling anxious? Figure out what you're feeling. Identify them. Now, see, forgiveness is dealing with those feelings. Forgiveness refuses to let even one feeling go unnoticed. That means we have to take the time to dig deep, to look way down into ourselves, to understand what we're really feeling and what's going on and just what's going on. All right, forgiveness is deciding that the debt the offender owes us for the offense. Yeah. We have to decide the debt. We have to determine what it would cost for them to repay us for that offense. Okay? Did the offense ruin your reputation? Did it end your marriage? Did it destroy your mental health? What would be required of that person to make things right? Even if it's impossible, even if it's an impossible debt to pay, we can know what it would take to make it whole again. Now, looking at this from a spiritual point of view, this is exactly what God did with us. He said that the sin created a separation and the debt was impossible to be paid. We could not pay that debt. Impossible. No way. Wasn't happening no matter what. But because of Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, the forgiveness of our sin is possible. Our sin debt is paid. Why? Because God said, I forgive. He made the way. And when we accepted that way, he looks at us and says, I forgive. It's done. It's gone. No more debt is owed. Okay, going back onto track here. What forgiveness is discovering the damage that holding the bitterness has caused you and others. See, let me just ask a couple questions. Do you jump to conclusions that aren't healthy for your relationships? I mean, if you enter into a new friendship or a love relationship, do you jump to conclusions based on what's happened in the past? Of course you do. We all do. We are trained by our experience, but there's no need to keep doing it when it's damaging us and others. Are you overly skeptical, thinking, that's not going to happen? It's not going to happen. He or she is not going to be that way. It's not going to be what I need. It's not. Mm. Do you criticize others based on what the person who offended you has done? Do you think, have you ever said, men are horrible, men are jerks, women are all, use a word? Just because one person did something to us, we don't need to be generalizing the entire group that person belongs to. We just can't. We have to stop that. And that is something that forgiveness can help. Can you love yourself? Do you believe in yourself? No, I don't mean the just saying, yeah, I believe in myself. I mean, really, do you step out and take risks? I'm not talking about like walking a tightrope over the Grand Canyon. I'm talking about taking the opportunity to meet new people, trying a new business, doing something that you've always wanted to do, but you didn't really think you could do it. You take risks like that because you believe in you, because you believe that you're worth it, because you believe that you can do it. Do you love yourself? Scripture tells us to love others as we love ourselves. If we're not loving ourselves, how can we love others? I don't think we can. We have to believe in ourselves, and forgiveness will help us with that. Now, see, we need to determine these things so that we can see the true cost of our unforgiveness. Because right now, when we hold on to this root of unforgiveness, this bitterness that has grown from keeping this offense within us, we have developed these behaviors and these thought processes that are actually costing us. But all we see is, well, so-and-so did that, and I'm never going to forgive no matter what. Well, just in case you're thinking that you might possibly sort of sometime kind of think about forgiving, let's talk about how to forgive and still be true to yourself. First, declare the debt the offender owes you. You thought about it in the last step. Now is the time to say it out loud. Not to anybody else, but speaking it brings it out of your head and your heart into reality. You hear me? It brings it out of your head and your heart into reality. You need this. Declare the debt the offender owes you. Whatever you wrote out in that last step where you talked about what it would take for them to make it right, speak it. Now, once that's done, write it down. Write it down on a piece of paper. Write it on a chalkboard. Write it on a whiteboard. I know you just said it. It's okay. Write it down. There's a reason, an important reason. So go ahead and do that. Now I want you to look back at the list of damages that the bitterness has caused. Look at that list we just talked about, the damages that the bitterness has caused, the you've become used to because of the bitterness you've been holding. Okay. And then, now listen, let me pause just a minute. I'm not saying that this is going to happen this afternoon while we're talking. A half hour is not going to cut it. It's not even going to take care of the first steps that I talked about. What I'm saying here is, come back to this video. I'll have it on YouTube. You'll be able to go there if you want to. But you will need to process each part of this. And if you do that, you're going to find a way. You're going to find a you that you didn't know existed. All right. After you've done the determining the cost and realizing the damages, now I want you to do something really hard. This is a hard part. I want you to wipe the slate clean. If you wrote it on paper, tear the paper up or burn it, one or the other. Get rid of it. But I want you to do that literally. And as you do, speak the name of every person that you decided was involved in that offense, every one of them, including you, and say these words. The debt is wiped away. I forgive you. The debt is wiped away. I forgive you. And yes, I mean, say that to yourself. Say it to yourself. The debt is wiped away. I forgive you. Why do we have to say we forgive ourselves? Because we are really hard on us. We don't let ourselves off the hook. We don't think we're worth it. We don't think we did it. But mostly we don't think we're worth it. Let's change that thinking. The debt is wiped away. I forgive you. And then you need to declare that the debt is no longer owed. Again, declare this aloud. You need to hear it. And so does the spiritual realm. You are declaring that this is no longer ground that can be used in battle against you. You're taking over. You are taking this ground over, and you are saying that the war over this ground is won. It's finished. It's won. There will be no more battle over this ground, over this offense, over the things that have come from this offense. It's done. And the next thing is to walk away from this in freedom. See, if this offense comes back to your mind, remind yourself of wiping that slate, of tearing up the paper, erasing the chalkboard. Remember that it's been wiped clean, just like what Jesus did for you. So let's recap. We have to know what forgiveness is not. It is not saying it's okay, that what happened is okay. It's not saying that the person didn't do it. It's not saying those kind of things. We have to know what forgiveness really is. It's not saying, oh, we're going to be buddies again. It's not saying, oh, my husband has been cheating on me and now everything's going to be just fine. No, it's not saying that. It's saying that the debt that they owed you is gone, is wiped away. And we have to know how to forgive. In my journey in learning this, I know some of you have heard this before. I had a list of people that I needed to forgive. Some had already passed away. Well, I couldn't go and talk to them about it. And some were, I had no idea what had happened or, where they were or anything. But what I was able to do was I wrote letters. I wrote the letter as though I were speaking to that person. I knew you at this point in time. You did this. You did this. You said this. You acted this way, whatever. And then I explained why what they had done was wrong. And then I took those letters and I sat before a fire and I read the letter as though I were speaking it to the person that I was offering forgiveness to. It was a tearful afternoon. It was, because I'm reliving things as I'm reading these because that's how I wrote them. But at the end of each letter, I said, I forgive you. And then I took that letter and I stuck it in the fire. And I watched the ash. I watched the smoke. And I had determined in my heart before I started that when I saw that ash go away, when I saw that smoke rising, the forgiveness was complete. Like what I said, the battle, the war was won. It was done, finished. Now, that's not to say that some of those things don't creep back up in my mind. Some of those wounds were very deep. But when they come back, I am able to say, no, forgiveness has already happened. There's no debt. There's no debt. That's how I did it. You can find the best way for you. But I promise you what I've shared today, the being able to speak it, we need to hear ourselves say these things. That's why I read those letters out loud. And this is really important. We can learn all these things. We can learn what forgiveness is not, what forgiveness is, and we can learn how to do it. But we have to take action in order for the freedom to come. Yeah, we have to take action in order to be free. So the big takeaway here is that you really, really, really can experience freedom that you haven't known without having to remain stuck in the cycle of bitterness and unforgiveness. You don't have to. You can choose to do the forgiveness thing. And when you do, you will walk away from that experience feeling lighter. You will feel, honestly, you will feel less burdened because you will, right now, if you're holding this unforgiveness and this bitterness, you don't realize the crushing weight on your soul from doing this, from holding it. See, God never intended for us to do that. He tells us in several places to forgive others. The Lord, when he made the model prayer, when he spoke the model prayer, he spoke, forgive us as we forgive others. Oh, whoa. We're asking God to forgive our trespasses, our sins, our offense, like we do for others, and then we don't do it for others. What are we saying? Oh. It's that important, friends. It's that important. So listen, before I forget, if your goal is to put this whole process on steroids, if you really want to get this done, I would love for you to be one of the first to set up a free 30-minute one-on-one coaching consultation with me. Go to faybryant.com/coach. There's a button there that says free consultation. Fill out that form and we will get together on when we can meet. We'll do it virtually and we'll see what we can do to get you moving toward forgiveness and freedom, real freedom. That is faybryant.com, Faye Bryant.com/coach. I'll put it in the comments. And this can make it easier for you to experience the freedom that you haven't known without having to stay stuck where you are. Until next week, I'm Faye Bryant. Love y'all.